In Word, a template is a document saved in such a way that when it is opened, Word will make a copy of it instead of modifying the original. There are predefined templates available in Word. We can also create our own templates. From the new document screen, we see a list that is available through Microsoft, or we can click Personal to see the templates that we have defined. Most of the templates available use form controls extensively. Form controls are objects included in a document to guide the information that a user can enter. A document can also be protected to restrict what parts a user can edit. We can limit what the user can edit with or without form controls. Let's have a quick look at some of the available templates. Let's just scroll down and find a simple one. For example, let's have a look at this Employee of the Month certificate. Click on that and then click Create. If we click on any of the text items, especially the ones that we're meant to edit, if we click on this and just enter a name, note that the rest of these items are all controls as well. We could modify any of those that we want to too. And then notice when we go to save, it asks us to save it as a new document. Let's have a look at another one. Again, File New. Maybe let's have a look at one for a letter. We can search online up here, or we can click on a bunch of predefined suggested searches. So let's click letter and just pick one that looks nice. And sometimes you'll have to click Enable Editing. Only do that if it comes from a trusted source. So again, we can click on any of the text items. I'm not going to save this one. Let's just close these and have a look at making our own. To demonstrate creating our own templates, let's make a simple incident report. Let's just add some simple questions. Under most of these, I'm going to put a blank line for the user to respond on. I'll use a bottom border to give an underline to each. And I'm just going to update. That didn't work. And I'm going to update my heading 1 style to have some extra space between each. And I think heading 1's a little bigger than it needs to be. Let's just bring that down to 12. That looks a little better. And now when the user comes in and types, their answer will be underlined. Maybe that's too much space. Oops. Yeah, that looks a little better. Now to save it as a template, go File, Save As, click on Browse, change the type to Word template or .docx, and save it. And we can close this. If we open Word again, this time go into Personal. Here's our incident report template that we just created. And note up here, instead of being named incident report.docx, we get document 1 that we can save. Now the user can go and fill it out. Now we can just insert images here like we would in any other document. In a bit we'll look at a control that makes it easier to attach. That's ready to be saved and printed. The next step is to restrict what a user can change. Because if we look at right here, we can just change anything we want. So we probably want to limit it to their answers. So to open up our we want to go back in and edit our template. If we try and just find it in our documents and then try to open it directly from there, notice that it opens it up as a new document, not as our template that we want to edit. So to edit it, open up Word again, and this time go File, Open, and make sure you pick your .docx. So now notice up here we have incident report.docx. So we're back into our template. So under the Review tab, there's a button under the Protect section, which is Restrict Editing. If you click on that, we get the restrict editing pane pop up on the right hand side. So editing restrictions is what we're interested in. If we click on allow only this type of editing, the default is no change, read only. And then we have a section for exceptions, which means we can select parts of the document that people can edit. So let's say we want maybe them to be able to edit the subtitle. We can highlight subtitle. We could click on everyone. Now we can click any spot we want them to be able to start typing. Place our cursor without selecting anything and click on the everyone again. The final step is to click yes, start enforcing protection. We can give it a password if we want. I'm going to opt not to. So click OK. Everything that the user is allowed to edit gets highlighted in yellow. Let's save our template. Go File, New, and Personal, and open up another incident report. Now, if you try to edit, if I click in a place where you're not allowed to edit and try and type, now let's look at using form controls to make our inputs more meaningful. The first step is to stop protection on our template file. And then we're going to want to get rid of all of these exceptions that we added because we won't be using them anymore. The easiest way to do that is to uncheck allow only this type of editing in the document, and then click yes. And now they're all gone. If you don't have this developer tab at the top of your Word, the first thing you need to do is enable it. You can do that by right-clicking on a blank portion of the ribbon and go customize the ribbon. And you'll be met with this screen. So in the right hand section, go down, and if this developer is not checked, click it to check it. And then this developer tab will come up. So on the developer tab, there's another copy of the restrict editing button. So you can access it there as well as from the review tab. And this controls section is the one that we're interested in. So we have two types of text controls. We have a rich text control and a plain text control. We have a picture content control that basically gives the user a button they can click on to add a picture. We have a checkbox. We have a checkbox that when the user clicks on it, it will toggle it from checked to not checked. We have a combo box, content control. We have a drop-down list content control. Both of these, if you click on a drop-down menu, you can select from a predefined list. The combo box also has a text bar at the top, so you can enter your own answer. The repeat section content control allows a user to copy a specific portion of the document if they need more space or have more than one. And I'll demonstrate that by giving a control when we put in the photos that they can add multiple ones. There's also a drop down for legacy tools. We're not going to focus on those, but you'll notice that most of them are the same as from the current form tools. Let's start with our name. So click after where we want them to enter their name, and I'm going to use a plain text control. So I'll just click on that, and we have this field that pops up here. If we want to change its properties, there's a properties button under controls. So we can give it a name. We won't worry about a tag. And here, as we have shown, how do we want our control to be shown? The default is bounding box. So we'll leave that on this one. And then we have a start end tag, and then we have none. We'll demonstrate the other two on some other controls. We can tell it to use a certain style to format our text. You can also have it turn into just plain text when the contents is edited. We don't want them to be able to, we don't want the user to be able to delete the control. Content cannot be edited. That kind of defeats the purpose, as we're including controls that we can set it so the user can't edit the content. We can also allow multiple paragraphs, which we'll use in a later one. We click OK. So when the user comes to it, if they click on here, it highlights everything, and they can start entering their name. I'm just going to undo that. There's a date picker that we'll use for date. Click on that. And you'll notice that it's not necessary to give it a title or a tag. I'm going to select none for here. We'll also restrict it from being deleted. And then we can pick the format of our date that we want. Let's just pick this one. We only have one type of calendar available to us. So now when the user comes to here, show as none doesn't work for a date. Let's leave it at bounding box. So now the drop down to get to a date is part of the bounding box. Here's where we'll use the rich text control. Let's set this one to none. Again, we don't want the user to be able to delete it. This one we're going to use the combo box because we have a list, a predefined list, but we've also allowed them to put other. So let's pick combo box. And edit its properties. So now at the bottom is where we define our predefined list. You just click add and type in each value. There we go, okay. And now you can see we can drop that down and pick any one. But we can also just click in there and type in whatever answer we want. So under the was anybody injured, we'll use two checkboxes, one for yes and one for no. Oops. We can just straight up copy them for property damages. We can add a picture content control for pictures. And if we want them to be able to add multiple pictures, if we highlight the picture control, we need to leave it showing as bounding box because the picture button in the middle is attached to that. Now we wanted people to be able to add more pictures, but maybe we better have them, maybe we want to allow them to have a caption as well. Oops. So let's add another plain text control. Just going to format that so we get space, no space below the picture, but space before the next picture. So if we want them to be able to repeat both of these, highlight the two objects. And click a repeat section, content control. Now, when we select the overall one and click plus, it gives us a second one. Here's where we'll use our drop down instead of a combo box, because we have only a specific list. I think that covers them all. And if you test out your controls, be sure to undo them so that they're in the original state. Let's just modify these ones again and have a look and see what we see if we have a start end tag instead of a bounding box. So it adds these here for them. So I'm partial to a bounding box or none. And it's my preference for none on any textual stuff. One more thing we might want to do is change any of these prompt texts. And to accomplish that, click on this design mode button up here. And then we can exit out of design mode to see what it looks like. Let's add one more control to allow the user to edit this line here. So again, we're going to use that as a plain text control. So the difference between this one and the other ones that we had, because we had pre-existing text, if I click into it, I can edit the existing text instead of when I click here, and it just overwrites everything. Again, make sure you undo any of the tests you do with your controls. Now that our controls are all done, we can restrict editing again. So this time click allow only this type of editing in the document. Select filling in forms. And then click yes, start enforcing protection. Again, if you want to give it a password, you can. Maybe I will this time. And now, whenever we try and click anywhere, it highlights the closest control. So let's save our template again. Go new again. And choose new based on this. So again, because there was pre-existing text that we added the control to, let's see if the logo works in here. Yeah, it does. Again, because this was a combo box, we can put in our own answer. In this combo box, we must pick one of the predefined. And our form is filled and would be ready to be submitted. Not going to bother saving this one. One more thing that I want to show you is the difference between the rich text and the plain text. So I'm going to stop protecting it. Let me just start one more new one so I can demonstrate what was different between the plain text and the rich text. So if I put some text in the rich text field, if I highlight any part, I can apply bold, italics, colors, etc. to any given portion of the text. But if I select my name and only my last name, if I try to bold or set anything to it, it applies the formatting to the whole box. And note that that only works if you're not protected for just filling out the form.